What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Truth in Movies. I let you guys vote for which movie you guys wanted to see this time, and everybody wanted to check out the Shawshank Redemption. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that we haven't done this one yet, and this is one not to miss. This movie is not just a great movie, won a ton of awards, but I'm going to share with you the esoteric side of what's really happening throughout Stephen King's presentation. And if you're a Stephen King fan or you've seen his other movies or his books, then you're going to see a lot of connections throughout the whole Stephen King universe, which is actually just our universe, retold and explained through the eyes of what I call ancient Oblivion, our past that we've forgotten about and a future that is yet to come. Thank you so much for all the support. Let's jump right into today's presentation, The Shawshank Redemption. And I also wanted to let you guys know I was going to stream yesterday, but my son had an allergic reaction, so I had to take him to the hospital. He's okay. Everything's good. Dad always comes first. Being dad comes first. So, and shout out to my boy if you're watching. I love you. High five. And I'm glad that you're better. All right, let's jump into today's presentation, The Shawshank Redemption, brought to you, as always, by Mount Meru. Sometimes it'll show you the Warner Brothers, right? The Warner Brothers. So the Warner Brothers are these four Jewish brothers that started this movie company in the early 1900s. And we've broken down the name or the word Warner before, but I just wanted to share with you what it means. So if you look up, first you can see there's a shield, right? There's a shield and it's blue behind it, which is interesting. It's implying it's sort of in opposition to the red shield, or you could say the Roth shield or Rothschild, right? The Rothschilds. It's also the Time Warner Company, as you can see down here. They do something with time, but we need to figure out what this word Warner means, actually. So let's check it out. We go to etymonline.com, where we can research etymological roots of words. We look up Warner, and it says keeper of a warren, one who or that which warns, somebody who's actually giving warning. So these people who make this movie, the Warner Brothers, are the ones who are warning you through what you believe to be fiction or fantasy or some story. It's not real. It's just a story. Is it? Or are they warning you about something? Well, it says here to see the word warren, W-A-R-R-E-N. If we look that word up for the Warner Brothers, the ones who warn us, it says, let's see, it says here, a piece of land enclosed for breeding beasts and fowls. So a zoo or a garden or some enclosed place where you would expect there to be lots of plants and animals. So that's interesting too. That is interesting. So let's see what else they got here. It goes on to say, from the Proto-Indo-European root word, W-E-R, ver. It's pronounced sort of with a U and a V sound together, ver, which is the beginning of the word werewolf and many other words, but it means to cover. It implies to conceal by covering, okay? So the warren, the root of that is to cover, to conceal, to keep safe, right? It could keep things out, or you can keep things in and guard them. Actually, this is related to a word that implies guard, which is warden, as in the warden of Shawshank Redemption or a warden of a prison. If we look this word up, it says it's the suffixed form of the Proto-Indo-European root word ver, once again, which can also mean to perceive, to watch out for, the watchers, the guardians, the ones who are watching. They're watching for something as well, not just watching out for people to warn them, but to watch for something. What are they watching for? They're watching for this right here. What is that, Jay? That's a lighthouse. Why are they watching for a lighthouse? The lighthouse in the movies and in Hollywood is always symbolic for a central pillar, the axis mundi, the pillar of the world, which is a beam of energy and plasma that shoots up from the North Pole every other cycle. And it is the center of the Garden of Eden. It is the center of Atlantis and Hyperborea. So it's brought to you by Mount Meru. Also goes by other names: Castle Rock, the castle, the Tower Rock, the high and lofty tower that has light that comes out of it. Brought to you by Mount Meru. Castle Rock Entertainment, a Time Warner company. The Time Watchers, the ones who watch the times and watch the skies and determine the omens and the signs to see how close the next apocalyptic cycle will be, as we do here as well. Now, here's a map I'll be featuring. It's another version of Mercator's map of the Arctic. I like this one. It's got a huge mountain right there at the middle that says Rupus Nigra et Altissima, which means Rupus Rock, Nigra, dark or black, et Altissima, in the highest, or as Stan Lee would say, Excelsior, the highest mountain on Earth. The one that people have forgotten about, the one that has slipped into the recesses of our collective subconscious mind or our ancient oblivion. Remember that rock. Remember this circular pool. Remember these 4 rivers. Remember the circular valley, the mountain range that goes all the way around it, because I'll be referencing this throughout the rest of this presentation. Castle Rock Entertainment presents, brought to you by Mount Meru. There it is. I forgot I put it on the screen. All right, so we start off with Andy Dufresne. He's our main character. Andy Dufresne's going through some tough times right now. He's sitting in his car outside of his wife's lover's house, and he's contemplating what to do. He caught his wife cheating. But let's break it down. Let's get a little bit deeper than just the surface level of the story. This is what they show us. This is the cabin in the woods. We've seen that many times in our breakdown of movies. There's this cabin in the woods, but the cabin is surrounded by 2 lanterns, 2 lights on either side, flanking the entryway to this central cabin in the middle of these woods. We've talked about the woods, the magical woods, the mysterious woods, the overgrown woods, oftentimes as it's shown in the movies. And that is a portion of this central land right here. So the central land starts off with these rocks that go all the way around this mountain range. That mountain range is basalt columns that rise straight up. They're not a mountain range you could just hike or anything. But immediately beyond that, it's overgrowth. You enter into this magical, lush, overgrown tropical foresty area. Once you get past that, then you get into the valleys and the plains where people, tend to actually live or whatever. Unless you can, live in that foresty area. But anyways, that's what we're being shown to you, shown here. Let's take a look at those lamps on either side. Those lamps represent the Pillars of Hercules, which is an anode and a cathode mountain on either side. If we take a look at this map for reference once again, there is a mountain up here acting as an anode or cathode, and there is a corresponding one on the other side. I call these the anode and cathode islands. They are large volcanic systems that shoot up their own pillars of light, which creates 3 large beams or a triple beam of light off into the north that people would see as a sign, and they would flock to it, and they will flock to it. But you have to go between those 2 large pillars of light, which will show first as the inner earth depressurizes its gases. Those gases ionize and become lights. Those lights shoot up as light pillars into the heavens. The last light to shine will be the central one that comes out of the central mountain. It's flanked by the 2 witnesses. It's flanked by the 2 lights on either side of it. People see those 2 lights. They go between them, and they go between the Pillars of Hercules. They enter into some unknown land, some distant fantasy type of a world. They travel what appears to be back in time into the land of the lost, etc. You can see an example of this symbolically portrayed as lions in Back to the Future, where he goes through the lion's gate between the 2 lions. Here's one over here and one over here. The reason they use the lion is because the root of the word lion is the word lu. It means of the lu, or luon. Okay, lu is where we get our word love, and it means to flow like water, or to flow like a fluid or plasma. Okay, so these are the lights, the plasma lights that he goes in between acting and representing the Pillars of Hercules themselves. We see other versions of this all throughout the movies. I'll share with you a few examples, but you can find way more than these, and I encourage you to share them in the comments if you guys find other examples or you remember other examples in the movies. The Never-Ending Story. Remember when Atreyu has to go to the Southern Oracle and he has to pass between these two Sphinx-looking people? They open their eyes and light comes out of their eyes. It also, the Northern Oracle looks just like that too. But here's Atreyu passing between these two boundary markers that are glowing with light themselves. We also have Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, where he's going to try to find the Holy Grail. Another word for grail, and the origin of that word, implies a crater, okay, a cup, all right, a crater shape, an indentation that you can fill up or whatever. But it's that same valley. That's the Holy Grail. That is the holy place on earth, a consecrated place, a different place, a physical, tangible, livable paradise on earth. To get there, you go between the anode and the cathode lights or lions. And this is what Indiana Jones does to begin the first of his trials to get to the Grail itself. Let's see. Oh, so let's go back to our main character, Andy Dufresne. Like I said, he's just between these two lights. He's parked outside of him. He does not enter into that area. All right. He's parked outside of those lights away from that house. He doesn't go up to it like Indiana Jones is right here. He stays outside of it. Why? Because his wife is acting the prostitute. His wife is acting as the biblical harlot in the book of Revelation, somebody who is unfaithful, an unfaithful wife. And in the book of Revelation, it talks about this unfaithful wife. Andy Dufresne, as you will see, represents the blue beam that shoots up out of the center of that island. Okay, he is the savior figure. He is the Christ-like figure. He is the hero of the story. And his wife is the harlot that is portrayed in the book of Revelation that cheats on the true blue beam, the good spirit of the world, okay? Now in the book of Revelation, it says that she sits upon a beast with 7 heads. Now it says in the book of Revelation that those 7 heads are plainly and bluntly 7 mountains. It's even though the whole book of Revelation is steeped with symbolism, it stops in that one part to give you a big fat clue and tell you it's talking about a physical place on earth with 7 mountains. Don't be deceived. Some people will interpret this as 7 hills, in which they project this upon the places that they want this to be located, like the Vatican or other places around the world. It is not. It is 7 large, huge mountains. As a matter of fact, these mountains are volcanoes. They are openings in the earth, and each one has its own beam of light that will shoot up around it. This woman will sit atop of it, okay? So this is Andy Dufresne waiting outside of his house, or outside of his wife's lover's house, and she's in the middle of cheating on him. The Bible says this calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads of this beast are in fact 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So the woman in the movie is Andy Dufresne's wife. Andy Dufresne represents that true blue beam of energy that rises up and leads us into a golden age. His wife represents what people will see just before we get through the apocalyptic cycle, this beast that rises up out of the northern ocean in the form of these 7 mountains that will suddenly appear, these 7 countries with inhabitants and everything that will rise up out of the center of the earth. Now, he's sitting outside. There's the 2 lights on either side. He reaches for his weapon. He's thinking about going in there. He's not sure what to do. Maybe he wants to just scare his wife and her lover. He's really upset though. And he's close to resorting to violence, right? He takes a swig of some alcohol, some spirits, some evil spirits, because he's losing his mind. He doesn't know what to do. But this represents the times that we live in, okay? So when this harlot is riding atop these 7 mountains, or this beast, and we see this strange entity in the northern sky, That tells us that we live in times when the world is flipped upside down, when people abound in their sins and their evil and their perversions. So that's what Andy's doing. He's sort of tempted to give in to those evil spirits as he literally drinks spirits, which is liquor, right? Fornication with the earth's kings. Revelation 17:1-2 says, the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of fornication. That means not cheating so much physically, like physical adultery, but cheating on your spirit. It's called blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, cheating on yourself, cheating on that good and righteous way that you know that you should be living, and giving into it and acting as the rest of the world will act, which is mostly corrupt. So the harlot wears scarlet. She's the scarlet harlot, and she wears red. And as you can see in the movie, she also wears red. She's hooking up with this golf pro. That's her inside of the log cabin or whatever. And the harlot also is said to wear red and purple. Now, the reason for this is because, and this one I don't have a visual to show you, but you'll have to imagine this, okay? These 7 mountains lift up, each one acting as a cathode. Mount Meru is in the center, a strong magnetic mountain acting as a positive force or an anode. Okay, all the plasma that shoots up out of those different mountains that surround it bows inward, literally bowing down to the central mountain as it's attracted to it, and it creates a plasma sheath. Now, because of the extreme low pressure in that area, that plasma will turn red or scarlet in color, and it will spin around like a serpent that's trying to eat its own tail. So this is what's happening. We have the harlot of the book of Revelation. We have Andy Dufresne, the good beam, the good energy outside. And then we hear his lawyer, because we're actually being shown a flashback right now. His lawyer says, yes, they had sinned. These two right here. Yes, they had sinned. They had done wrong. But was their crime so great as to merit a death sentence? Let me take you to our world now. Let me take you to the modern world. This is the modern world, the legal system, the maritime law, the world that is drunk on fornication, where they make excuses for breaking those codes, those laws that are deeply ingrained and sewn into some of our souls. They make excuses for breaking those laws. They actually make those laws the right thing or the wrong thing to do, and breaking them the right thing to do. This is what their lawyer is saying. Was their crime of cheating on Andy, of fornication, of adultery, was that crime so great, he says, as to merit a death sentence, that Andy should have killed them? Andy didn't kill them, by the way. But he's trying to say no. No, it's not so great. But he is asking the question, was their crime that great that, they deserve to die? Let's see what the Bible says about that. Going back to the Old Testament of the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22. If a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So you shall put away the evil from Israel. Let me just have a drink to that. Now, that's a quote from the Bible, from the Old Testament, from God, if you'd like to believe that God wrote the Bible. Okay? And that's what it says. Here's what the modern times say. Did God really say that? Is what you're being told. It's the first and age-old lie, repeated over and over again. The lawyer goes on to say, consider this, 4 bullets per victim. Not 6 shots fired from Andy's revolver of 6 rounds, but 8. Why would he need 8 bullets? For the same reason that whenever David went out to fight Goliath, he had 5 rocks. He only needed 1 to kill Goliath, but Goliath had, as is the custom and tradition, 4 brothers, 4 giant brothers that might have had his back. Andy had 8 bullets. Didn't need 8 bullets. But remember, she's riding on top of 7 nations. 7 other continents, seven other mountains that rise up in the North Pole. Here's the mind that has wisdom. This is Revelation chapter 17. The 7 heads of that beast that rises up in the end times are 7 mountains. The beast that was and is not, meaning right now is not, you can't look to the north and see this beast, but you will, is himself also the 8th mountain itself altogether, and is one of the 7 and is going to perdition. So there are actually 8 if you include the entire mountain range as a collective that acts as the 8th and the whole thing itself, the beast itself. It's like 4 legs of the elephant plus the elephant, okay? Just to give you an idea. So Andy had 8 bullets for all of them, for everything that rises up out of the north. So the judge says, I find you to be a cold-looking man, and I hereby order you to serve 2 life sentences back to back. Well, that's interesting that they would even give you 2 life sentences, you know, and like 1 should suffice, right? But just in case you got another one, which implies living longer, but we'll get past that. 1 for each of your victims, so be it. Pow! Slams the gavel home. Now, we go back to Shawshank Prison. Shawshank is mentioned a few times throughout Stephen King's novels. It's alluded to many times because all of these stories are interconnected. As a matter of fact, if you pay attention, every movie you have ever watched, every cartoon you have ever seen, all the commercials, all of the books, everything in your media is connected. It's all within what I call the fractal verse. None of it is separate. It just seems separate because they're all written from different timelines and perspectives and angles, etc. We go back to Shawshank Redemption or Shawshank Prison. And the next character we meet, named Red, is up for his parole hearing, or what they call rejection. He's in front of these 5 individuals right here who determine his fate. Anytime you see the number 5, it often represents the law. It represents the Old Testament of the Bible. And I'm just going to speak from a biblical perspective because that's what the movie uses as biblical symbolism. Now, they ask him, what do you think? Should we let you go? Should we put you on parole, let you out of the prison? Are you reformed? He says, I'm no longer a danger to society. Nope. They don't care. They've already determined that he's to be rejected for his parole. Now, this is supposed to be a picture of him at a young age. Interesting little breadcrumb. This is actually Morgan Freeman's very own son. They just took a picture of Morgan Freeman's son to make it look like it's him when he's younger. And he makes an appearance in just a little bit in the movie. Now, take a look at Morgan Freeman's initials in the movie. His name is Ellis Boyd Redding. Ellis, E, Boyd, B, Redding, R. Eber. Well, that's interesting. Eber, the man whose initials spell Eber, is trying to get to the other side. He's trying to escape a prison. He's trying to cross over from one dead land into a land of green grass on the other side, we'll say, right? EBR, Eber, Ellis Boyd Redding. Why is that important? Well, it's important because there is a word, Eber, EBR, in Hebrew. It literally means Hebrew, actually. And the word Hebrew, this is Ayin Beit Resh right there. It means to cross over, to pass through, or the region beyond. It describes someone from the other side of the river. And just outside of Shawshank, there's a little river or a small stream, which will come into play later. So, red represents somebody who is to cross over, to try to escape from a dead land to a land of life that is flourishing, symbolically, okay? He represents much more than that, but we'll get back to him in a bit, okay? Andy. Let's break down Andy's name. Andy Dufresne. Let's start with Andy. It's short for Andrew. What does Andrew mean? Well, if we look up the word Andrew, you'll see it's related to words like android, which means man-like, because Andrew, or ander, means man. You can see right there, it comes from the root word ner, meaning man. What does Dufresne mean? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. I told you Andy Dufresne represents the blue beam at the center of the world. He's the Christ-like figure. He's the savior figure. He's the light of the world. His last name gives it away. His first name means man. His last name means, we see here, the French surname Dufresne, looks like Dufresne. Dufresne means of the ash tree, or from the ash grove, formed by combining the prepositional article du and frene, ash tree. Man of the ash tree, or ash tree man. The word ash comes from the Proto-Indo-European root word az, or aj, meaning to burn or to glow, which is why we have the word ash, like ashes, ashes, we all fall down, okay? The ash tree, the glowing tree, the burning tree. That right there is a depiction of the Norse tree of life. There is only one tree of life. It's just the Norse is the Norse perspective. The Hindu is the Hindu perspective. The Christian is the Christian perspective. The Islamic is the Islamic perspective. But there is only one. They're all looking at it from different angles, different perspectives, different upbringings. This one is the Norse version. Take a good look at this. This is the ash tree in Norse history, which is also called mythology. This is an island surrounded by these high and lofty rocks that are colored white to imply that it's a cold region. There is a snake eating its own tail wrapped around this paradise-like island full of rivers, and a central mountain right there in the middle with light coming up out of the central mountain. And what rises up from the middle of that light? A tree, specifically the ash tree, the burning bush, the tree of light. There's many different names that it would go by. So Andy Dufresne's name literally means man of light, man of fire, fireman, light man, the original man. Okay. You could also call him the Wicker Man, the Tree Man. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie called The Wicker Man, but they build this gigantic wicker statue of a person, of a man, and they set it on fire. Now, it's interesting, this particular pose, because that beam shoots up and it splits like arms that are raised up, and it's a sign of peace. That's why when people hold up, they say, put your hands up or whatever. It's a sign of peace. Like, whoa, I mean you no harm, put your hands up. This is where that comes from. That beam of light spreads its wings at the top, becoming the fiery bird of creation, or the phoenix, or the man who looks like he's hanging upon a tree, or a cross, or a beam, or pillar, or pole. Okay? The Wicker Man, the Tree Man, the Tree of Life, the Man of Life, the Man of Light. The Burning Man as well. They set the Wicker Man on fire. They have to. Why? Because it's a light man. And this is why people go to this festival called Burning Man, out in the middle of the desert. They just have this exodus. They leave all of their countries, all of their places, as a small scale example of what is going to happen on the large scale across the world again one of these days, when people will start fleeing from their countries to head north, to cooler temperatures, to get closer to paradise itself, to get close to the Man of Light, the light bringer, you could say as well, the Burning Man. Now, let's get back to Shawshank Penitentiary, which is interesting because penitentiary, I don't know, in my mind, I was reminded of the word Pentateuch, which means Torah, but we'll get back to the Torah. Here is Shawshank Prison. This is your world. This is your world where you live right now. You could see it one way or another, okay? Because there's two cycles. There's things that happen in paradise at the center of the world. At the end of their age, before they're expelled by another cataclysm, that little world on that map that I showed you has its own dystopian experience. Believe it or not, paradise goes bad. Okay, so you could see this as being that paradise, or you could see this as being the world we live in now, and we're trying to escape this world and get to or return to Hyperborea, returning to paradise itself. I like to see it in the world we are now, returning to Hyperborea, which is the name of my second book, and the subject matter of it as well. So here are you. There's you right there. That's you. You guys are all walking towards the entrance there to see who the newcomer is going to be, right? Just like someone being born. Everyone flocking. It's a birthday, basically. It's the day when someone arrives on the scene. And how do they come? Riding on the white bus. Andy Dufresne rides on the white bus. What's the first thing he sees? Just like Jesus, by the way, returns on the white horse. First thing he sees is 5 guards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What does 5 represent? Do you remember? It represents the first 5 books of the Bible, which contain the law, the Old Testament law, right? It's called the Torah. Now, this script right here might look like hieroglyphics to you. I can read it. But it's actually Hebrew. It's called Paleo-Hebrew, or better yet, Phoenician, the alphabet of those who come from the land of the Phoenix itself, because the people from the Phoenix brought the alphabet to the rest of the world so that they could communicate with them. So what we have here is the letter T. It means marker. This is the letter U, essentially, which is like a tent peg that you would hit into the ground. And this is also the shape the blue beam takes, raising its arms just like that. Okay, so T, U, that's R. That looks like a head with a brain inside of it. That's R. And then this spirit-looking thing looks like a sai Raphael would hold, or a ghost or something. That's breath or spirit, and it's essentially the letter H. Torah. Okay, mark, connector. This is a connector. It's a nail or a tent peg. It connects things. Marker, connected to the mind, spirit. Okay? Mark a marker and the mind's spirit, or the spirit of the head, the mind. Okay? It's a marker. It should be written into your heads, into your minds, engraved into your hearts, so that you understand it. Ta'ora. Ta'ora. A marker of light. Aura itself means light. A marker of the aura. Now, Andy Dufresne arrives on the white bus, just like Jesus will arrive on a horse. And just like last time, he arrived on a donkey. And we've talked about the word donkey and how it is related to light as well, as far as the etymology of the word, the root of the word. Now, they start calling him Fish. Andy Dufresne, he can't even believe he's in prison. He's shocked. He didn't commit any murders. He's been framed. People blamed him for something that some other evil entity has done. They say, hey, Fish, come on, Fish. Everyone's trying to poke at him, calling him the new fish in the fish tank. This guy comes up. We're reeling him in, Fish. That's the same guy that was in Morgan Freeman's picture when he was younger. That's his son. So just a fun fact, next time you watch the movie, that's actually Morgan Freeman's son right there. We're reeling him in. Now, why would they call Andy Dufresne, the man who represents the Savior, the Jesus type, right? The blue beam himself, a fish? Why is there a fish connection, right? People would say, oh, well, Jesus ate fish in the Bible, I guess. No, that's not it. It's deeper than that. It's this symbol for the fish right here, okay? It's this central sort of an eyeball figure, right? Sometimes they call this the ichthys in Greek, but it's the Jesus fish. Why? Well, I did a whole video about, the video is about the Eye of Sauron that was seen during the Dark Ages, because the Dark Ages is one of the last times we had this major cataclysm happen, and people saw these lights in the north. This was one of the lights they saw in the north. If you want to check out this video, you can. It's called The Eye of Sauron, seen in the Dark Ages. Okay? But this is what people saw when they looked to the north. This beam of light shot up, expanded, but as it got further and further away, because of perspective, it closed back in on itself, creating this image. Look at that. It's the Jesus fish, literally on Jesus. They call this the wound in Jesus's ribs. Okay, and this is how it was depicted in ancient times. This was symbolic for Jesus himself. Was this interesting looking shape. And you can see they put the pole on one side. They put the cross on the other side because they're the same. It's a beam of light, a beam of energy that rises up from the center of the earth. There it is again in the center. Jesus right above it. Now, let's talk about another fish connection, shall we? There's an African tribe called the Dogon, or the Dogon tribe. Dogon tribe. Dog, in their language, and many other ancient languages, was actually dag, or dog, and it meant fish. O-N just means of the fish. People of the fish, tribe of the fish. And this is what their god looks like, okay? It's sort of this fish god. You can see a similarity there. But if you look a little bit closer to these fish depictions, you'll see it's not actually a fish. Let's take a little closer look, shall we? What we have here is Mount Meru, surrounded by those beams of light that are all bowing inward towards Mount Meru at the center. And that beam of energy shooting up from Mount Meru, creating toroidal instabilities as it goes up. The glow of that central beam of light ionizes the air around it, creates these sort of rungs of this ladder. These are actually circular all the way around. They're toroidal donuts that go around this central ring. You have like the actual Star of Eden, or the sun of the Garden of Eden. It creates a little focal point right there. Goes all the way up to the top, spreads out its wings, creates toroidal instabilities, and touches what I believe to be the dome. Okay, this is an ancient symbol for the dome as well. The Dogon tribe also happen to wear headdresses that look like the quintessential squatter man image. Now, the squatter man is that beam of light that shoots up and spreads its arms. But like I said, at the bottom, all the way around the Garden of Eden, there is this plasma sheath. So if you look at it from far away, it looks like legs that are bent down or squatting. So this is the symbol that they wear. They don't know why they wear this. They just know this symbol is important to them. And so they dance and they worship this fish god entity. But this is something that was seen from very far away, and it's a flying fish. It's a fish in the sky. This could be like the waters above, possibly. I don't know. But I do know that what is below is Mount Meru. You see that? And these right here act as like the rib cage of Jesus hanging upon the cross. These are like the eyes of like the Illuminati owl, if you will. Okay, that's Mount Meru at the bottom, or the legs. This is called the Nomo. Okay, this particular fish god, right, or these fish gods are called the Nomo. The root of Nomo is the word Nem. Nem-o, or Nem-u, means of the Nem. Nem means leftovers. It means whatever is allotted to you. And it applies something that's given to you that's left over. And when it comes to people, it means survivors. Survivors of the apocalypse, okay? Looking for this other survivors out there of the apocalypse, finding Nemo and everyone else, all your companions, just being forgetful, not remembering the apocalypse, not remembering who they are, where they're going, what's going on. Here's the word Nem, and it says here, a sign, something that's assigned to you, allotted to you, or a take, as in a poker game, like your winnings, what your take is, of the pot or whatever, okay? So the Nem, the Nemo. Now here's the warden. We already talked about the word warden. He is the protector of this particular land. He's the guardian of this particular land. He is the watcher, okay, which is another name for fallen angels or some just regular angels. But he's the warden. He says, I'm Mr. Norton, which is interesting because that word Norton could mean North Town or Town of the North. The warden, the watcher, the keeper of the Northern Territory. He also wears blue. The devil tries to emulate and copy what Jesus does, what Christ does. Okay, that's why he is the Antichrist. The devil's color is not red, it's blue, actually, because that's the color that is represented by Jesus traditionally, right? He says, rule number 1, no blasphemy. I will not have the Lord's name taken in vain in my prison. Now, the devil, which is what he represents, Satan, a negative evil energy, okay? is represented by this antichrist figure, this false Christ figure. The one that believes and sees in his own eyes that he is righteous and doing humanity good. He twists the biblical scripture immediately because what he's implying is you shall not use the name Jesus or God or whatever selfishly or in a curse, as in God damn it, or Jesus Christ, like, you know, because you're upset or whatever. And that's how a lot of people used to think that that commandment went. But here are the original commandments written in that same Paleo Hebrew Phoenician script as it would have been written originally. Let's take a look. The Lord's name taken in vain is the third commandment. So if you look behind me, we have, I know you can't read this, but this is the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 10, okay? Let's take a look at the third commandment real quick. I want to just go over the literal interpretation of this particular commandment with you, okay? This is Gimel, the letter G, ABG or ABC, same thing right here, okay? This is the commandment. This says, Lo. Wait, is that the right one? It's this one right here. Hold on, let me make it a little bigger. So you're gonna get a little class. I do have a class here on my YouTube channel where you can actually learn the Phoenician alphabet with me, and I make it very easy for you to learn it. It's not difficult. It's only 22 letters, very easy to learn. Okay. So while this might look like Chinese right now, just follow along. Trust me if you'd like to, but by all means, go ahead and go research it yourself. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, 1, 2, 3. This is the number 3, the third commandment. It says lo, which means you shall not, basically, or don't, or no. Okay? You shall not, and then it says Tasha et Shem. Okay? So Tasha et Shem, so to take the name, to use the name, to take the name. Shem means name. And then this is Iu or Yahuwah, Yahweh, okay? You shall not take the name. You could say Yahweh, or you can say what this literally means, which is I exist, I am, or I have life. Now together it's you shall not take the name that I have. Possibly. This is my own interpretation. Okay, you can interpret it however you want. Some people will say you shall not take the name Yahweh or the Tetragrammaton or Jehovah or however you want to pronounce this. But I believe this is saying you shall not take my life's name, my name, essentially. And then it says Aluha. This is kind of like the word aloha. Eluha Ika. Elohika. Which means your God, okay? You shall not take the name of your God, or you shall not use the name or make the name of your God, La Shua, to nothing, to destruction. That means you shall not forget that name. You shall not destroy that name. You shall not stop using that name, which is funny because people have literally done the exact opposite of that by changing the commandment of don't take his name in vain to don't say his name at all, basically. And now people have forgotten the name of the Hebrew God of the Old Testament, which is funny because it actually tells you right up here in the first commandment. I do have a video all about that as well. Where is it? Let's see. Where's the first commandment? I think that's short form. Elohim. Oh, here it is. Anyways, I don't want to get off track. But anyways, you see what I'm saying, right? The devil twists the words of the Bible. Okay, they twist the commandments around. As we already saw, he tries to make wrong right, right wrong, etc. Right? So he represents the Antichrist and the devil. The Antichrist, just to cut to the chase, is the sun itself. The fiery flaming one, the sun, the destroyer. It's going to turn blue. It's going to get so hot that we have a blue sun. Mark my words. Put your trust in the Lord, he says, but your ass belongs to me. Okay. He's saying, while you're here in the flesh, you're mine. This is my world, pal. I'm the powers of the Prince of Shawshank. And he loves it. And he's enjoying the short time that he has here at Shawshank. Now, they douse or delouse all the new people that come into Shawshank. The first thing that happens to them is they get covered in this chalk. They get covered in this ash. right? He's the ash tree. He gets covered in ash. You will all be covered in ash should you see the day that the apocalypse comes, because the world will be a burning mess. There will be ash everywhere. Ash will be in the sky. Ash will be falling down all over the place. But more likely, people are also going to purposefully put ash on their bodies, mixing it with water to create a sort of sunscreen and clay. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Now we get to Andy's cell. I took a picture of Andy's cell. I want to share it with you. Here he is off to the right, and right next to him, above him, is somebody had carved in the name George, which is funny. It's the same person who carved in this name, which means that name is a prop in the movie. That's not a real jail cell, and if it is, they purposefully carved this name into it because that has the same exact lettering as the rest of the names that are carved into his cell. George, because he is George. What do I mean? I mean he is the opening in the center of the earth, or the gorge in the middle of the earth. Now, he goes to eat his first delicious prison meal, and he finds that there is a bug there. Now, you are all in prison. This is Shawshank. We live in the Southlands, in the southern prison area, and we're trying to get back home. We're trying to get north. People are making you eat bugs, just like Andy is forced to eat bugs. They're putting bugs in his food. He has to do it. He can't help it. That's his only option he really has. So his buddy Brooks over here, the first friend he makes, says, "Are you going to eat that?" And then he goes to take a shower, and he meets this guy. I forgot his name, some turd. And he says, "Anybody get to you yet?" Right? So this guy is homosexual. He's trying to get into Andy's pants without Andy's permission. Okay? And this is also a sign of the times that we live in. Okay? A sign of living in the Southlands as we do today. A sign of the times. I have to be careful about like how I talk about this, but we go through these cycles, okay, where people change in different ways, okay, and the world kind of flips upside down. So just take it as you will. It's a sign of the times. Now Andy goes up and he meets his buddy Red. He meets his first best friend, his real best friend in the prison, and he asks him, "Hey, I heard you're a man who knows how to get things. I would like a hammer. A rock hammer." Red's like, "I don't know, man. A hammer? What if you use it to kill somebody?" And it's related to this hammer too, and I'll explain that. He's like, "Well, if there's any trouble with this guy right here, I promise I'm not going to use the hammer. I don't want to get you in trouble, okay? So if you could please get me that hammer, I want to work with the rocks." Andy is a rock worker, a mason, you could say. The father of all masons and stoneworkers, you could say, okay? So he's like, "All right, well, my name's Red." His name is Red. Ellis Boyd Redding. But everybody calls him Red. You could just say it's just because his name's Redding, right? But let's break down the full name. Ellis is related to the word Elisha. It's a name in the Old Testament, and it was another prophet of the Old Testament. Elisha implies God is my Savior or my salvation, okay, is Shah. Now, there's another Shah, which I showed you earlier if you were paying attention, which implies destruction. But the A is different. One A is like a picture for an eyeball, another one's a picture for an ox. But they're very similar. Like I said, the devil copies what Jesus tries to do. So Yeshua, or Yesha, which is really Jesus's like true name, Isha, that Shah means salvation. It means my salvation, or place of salvation, you could say. But then there's another Shah, which means destruction. That's interesting. Anyways, the Lord is my salvation. Boyd. Boyd means blonde. That's interesting. Why would they give him a name that means blonde hair? That literally is what Boyd means, blonde hair. Redding. Redding means of like red people. It literally implies red people, red-colored people. Now, you could make the case that he kind of has a reddish complexion, right? He's definitely not black, like pitch black, more brownish, reddish in color, right? Brunish, you could say, copperish, right? But look at the name entirely, and let's talk about it through the symbolism. It's Andy's best friend. It's the blue beam's best friend. It's his people. Okay? The people that live in that particular area or come from that particular area or are associated with that particular area. And this is not about race or racism, so do not make it about that. I've got a whole theory on where black people come from, white people come from, red people come from, etc. Okay? So this is not about racism. This is about the symbolism. Let's decode it. Ellis means God is my savior. Blonde-haired red people. Interesting. So we have red clay in the earth itself. This red clay is in abundance all throughout the world, but especially after the apocalypse, because there is an influx of oxygen all throughout the atmosphere. And that oxygen causes the dirt, different types of dirt and the water and stuff, to oxidize or to rust, literally, right? And it's what gives us the clay that the survivors will use for many different things. One is they're going to create their houses made of adobe and brick and clay and stuff. This is why the Hebrew people were like making brick and stuff in the Old Testament in the book of Exodus for the Pharaoh or whatever. The survivors of the apocalypse will work with their hands with the earth itself, and they will be red people. Now, somebody who has done a great video about this is Robert Seffer. I don't promote him. I don't know him, personally or anything, but he does have a cool video. This is actually one of my spoof seeker cards. So if you guys want to check it out, you guys can once I release my trading cards that spoof truth seekers from social media. But he did this video about I think it's called the Red Root Race. And it's very compelling. It's very interesting about people who came up from within the earth. And that's what the traditions say. Even Native American tradition, even Mexican tradition, even South American tradition, they talk about coming up from within the earth and emerging basically in the far north. He says, maybe it's because I'm Irish. Well, it's interesting that he should say that too. It's supposed to be a joke in the movie, right? Like, oh, you're black, you can't be Irish or whatever. But the Irish have their roots in, they call them the Danann, right? The judges, basically, the superheroes, this race of people that were superhuman, and they came from the center of the world. These are the people who lived in Hyperborea at the center of the world, and then they were forced to leave through cataclysm, and they became nomadic and wandered around the Southlands and integrated themselves into all of our modern societies or tribal societies at the time, refining them, bringing culture to them, teaching them things, and sort of civilizing them, I guess you could say, right? Now, obviously, that's gotten out of control, and the world's a bloody mess today. Now, Red is able to hook up Andy with the hammer. He laughs because he thought he was going to hurt someone or tunnel through Shawshank with it or something, but it's so tiny. It's just a tiny little hammer, right? But it is a hammer nonetheless, and it is Andy's hammer, the man of fire, the man of light, the lightning man. It's his hammer. Thor. The name Thor means tower. Okay, we're talking about the Black Tower at the center of the world. Also, the Black Tower at the center of Stephen King's entire universe. Has a whole book series called The Dark Tower, and this is what it's about. This is the hammer of Thor, the character. If you watch Marvel movies, or then you're actually learning a lot of ancient history if you do watch Marvel movies. This is this hammer, and this is why I have chosen to wear it for you today. Okay, this hammer is not evil. Some people just say, oh, that's pagan, that's evil, it's not a cross, it's not a crucifix with dead Jesus on it or whatever. That's fine. Whatever your perspectives are, it's the exact same symbol, okay? This one's called Mjolnir. Now, it's very interesting. This particular hammer, the hammer of Thor, is his weapon. It is the symbol of the cross. It is the symbol of the tree of life. It is the symbol of the blue beam that shoots up and then spreads out to the sides on either side. Sometimes it's shown as an actual square at the top, which is less likely that it looked like that, as in the case with Thor's hammer. But look at this particular picture of Mjolnir, the name of Thor's hammer. It's literally a blue beam of light coming up out of a mountain at the center. Forget the hammer, man. They're always like, they're putting stuff in your way when they're trying to show you the truth. It's just like when you're looking at ancient gods from Egypt or whatever, and they're like holding on to these different staffs and stuff. The human is not the god. It is the staff. It is the pole, the beam, the column, the pillar, the reed, the light pillars. The lightning connection to Mjolnir, let's look it up. Slavic words, Mjolnir, lightning, such as Russian Molnija, Mjolnir, and Old Church Slavonic Mlunuji, Mjolnir, meaning lightning maker. Okay? That mountain that I just showed you is the lightning maker. That lightning comes up out of that mountain. It is birthed out of this mountain that is surrounded by this sea, this pure sea, this virgin seawater right here, which is a giant lake, basically. And a giant lake in ancient times was called a mar, M-A-R, or M-E-R, which is why you get mermaids, maidens of the water, maidens of the lake, lady of the lake, that holds up a sword, Excalibur. You see what I'm saying? There's also the Irminsul. This is also Thor's hammer. This is also Mjolnir. This is also the cross of Jesus. This is also the owl of the Illuminati. This is also so many things. But this is technically, the Irminsul is the Anglo-Saxon axis mundi, or pillar of the earth, the cosmic pillar. Look at it. It's literally the plasma volcano at the bottom, erupting a beam of energy that creates little eddies and toroidal fields off to the side and spreads out its wings at the top. That's called Irminsul, or the Great Pillar. Comes from Old Saxon. Irmin, Great Pillar, Mighty Pillar, and Zul, right? Pillar. Zul, you could say it different ways. That's why, like in Ghostbusters, they keep saying Zul so much. They're talking about the pillar, okay? Sometimes people could see it as evil, as people today will, because the evil people of today will look at this beautiful icon and see it as alien and corrupt and messing up their way of life. So they'll blame it and call it evil. Good people know better. There's another version of it. You can see the star right above it. That's the apex dome. It's also the cross of Jesus. Like I said, when you looked at that Jesus fish and you could see it, the lines coming off on the sides of it, those are the ribs of Jesus right here. Why do you think they give him a six-pack? It's because it creates those lines that shoot off little toroidal fields, and these are like the toroids that go around. Sometimes the cross looks like this, which is, like I said, the same thing as the hammer, okay? The only reason the hammer is upside down is not because of inversion that's satanic or anything. It's because it's too heavy to lift up, and you lift a hammer by its freaking holder. What do you call it? Handle, right? So it's normally stands like that because it's so heavy or whatever. It's the same exact thing, okay? All right, so next up, we get back to Shawshank. Brooks, Andy's old man buddy, is passing him a book. The book is a front to actually pass him the rock hammer that's inside of this little napkin right there. So he's passing him the book. The weapon is the book. The tool is in the book, which is sort of telling us to read books, okay, to learn, to study, and let that be your weapon. Now, let's talk about, well, this is a little out of order, but remember the homosexual guy who is trying to, like, you know, take advantage of Andy? Well, he's got two other friends, and they call them the sisters. And this brings us to the three sisters and the three sister symbolism. Like I said at the beginning, there are those triple beams of light, okay? Those are the three sisters. Some people will personify them as female, some will as male, etc. But collectively, they're traditionally known as the Morai. The Morai. Which is interesting because it reminds me suddenly of the Lord of the Rings, where they went through the caves of the mountains of Moriah or Morai. Moriah, same thing, okay? But these are collectively called the three witches, three sisters. They are the ones, I believe in Greek mythology, that one of them creates the string. It's a soul string. It's your life, actually. Your life, your spirit is seen as a string. And it is literally made of a string that like winds up your spinal cord and goes up to your brain and stuff. But anyways, that's why she's holding the string that connects to these little humans down there. You see them? Okay. They're creating the spirits of the humans. One creates the spirit. Another determines how long that lifespan will last for. And the last one, the one that's dark here holding the scissors, she will cut it. So here's the woman creating the string, the woman measuring out the lifespan, and the woman who will cut it. You can see they live inside of a cave as well. And outside of that cave, we see what looks like a palm tree, right? Paradise or something, possibly. Here they are again. Their names are Lachesis, which is where we get the word like latch, to latch onto something. Atropos, which is where we get the word atrophy. Like if your muscles, you haven't used your muscles in a long time, they will shrink and die. That's atrophy or atrophy. And Cloto, which is where we get the word clothing from. All right. The three of them. They're also called the destinies. It says here, it also means a portion or a lot of the whole, a portion of the whole, the Nemo. Those who are the three beams of that paradise island at the middle of the world. If you're a human and you live there, you would also be called the Nem or the Nemo. It's related to the word meros, which is very close to Meru, or strong waters, strong Meru as well. Moros, which means fate or doom. Right? Oftentimes they're depicted without their eyes, but they hold on to this one eye. It's an all-seeing eye, and wherever that eye goes, they can see it. Kind of like Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know why I thought of that. There's like that eyeball creature, and whatever it sees, Lopan sees. Remember that? But that's the all-seeing eye. That is the apex dome. So you have these triple beams directly underneath the apex or hanging portion of the dome that covers the earth, the apex dome. Right? It's reflective. It will reflect those three beams, those triple beams underneath it. We look up and see these three circles of light reflected in the dome above us. That dome is the entire eyeball itself. Okay. But that's the symbolism behind that. Oh, there they are. I did it in reverse order. So there's three sisters trying to take advantage of Andy or whatnot. Like I said, sometimes people will see these signs and wonders that will emerge in the North Pole region as evil. Some people will see them as good. Andy goes outside to play with his buddy. He says chess. Now there's a game of kings. Andy invents chess in Shawshank. He brings chess to Shawshank Prison, to the outside world, if you will, to the Southlands. It is the black and white checkerboard symbolism. As I said, Andy is the rock hound. Andy is the one who is the mason. He would like to be a free mason and leave and go back to paradise where he can work with the earth once again. But this is why you have the checkerboard symbolism associated with the chess game, Andy Dufresne, the people at the center of the world, the tile maker. Andy is also the tile maker, that blue beam of energy. It creates those damn it, the word's at the tip of my tongue. Basalt columns, right? You ever see basalt columns like Devil's Tower or Giant's Causeway? At the top, you'll see there are oftentimes hexagons at the top or hexagonal tiles at the top of those basalt columns. He is the tiler. He's the one who makes those tiles. So in Hollywood, they will oftentimes use the name Tyler for one of the main characters who represents that area. We also have the black and white symbolism. So that mountain, Mount Meru, Rupus Nigra, during one cycle, it will be black because essentially there's all that oxygen will cause it to oxidize or rust, and it will turn dark in color, just like a frying pan will turn black over time too. But when you run electricity back up through it, it will turn shining and brilliant and white almost in color. So that mountain goes back and forth between black and white, between good and evil, and good times and bad times, good age and bad age. And that's why you have this. That's why the Freemasons use this. They have this square, which represents the earth, and they have the compass, which is also a circle. The circle and the square together give you that circular land with the four corners in the middle, just like a square would have. On Andy's wall, in addition to the name George, he has the word Peter. They zoom in on this one, Peter. Peter means rock. Peter, Petra. You know that place Petra out in the Middle Eastern area? Petra means Peter. Peter means father too. Peter, father. Petra, rock. Upon this rock I will build my church, is what the Bible says. He's talking about Rupus Nigra, the central rock, the cornerstone of the earth. Now there's another name up here that they show you, and it says Benny. That's interesting. Benny comes up a lot in the movies too. Benny usually dies. If your character's name is Benny, he's probably going to die. I'm just saying. Or Bob. Bob or Benny, they won't never make it in the movies. Benny oftentimes gets resurrected, actually, but Bob doesn't. Anyways, so here's Benny, right? The name Benny. Let's check out the name Benny. Why do they put this onto Andy's wall? Because it's short for Benjamin or Benjamin, which means, or can be interpreted as meaning, son of the right hand son. Now, what you don't know is it can also mean son of the south, and by extension, all people who live in the Southlands. Not in Hyperborea, okay? But these are good people. The Benjaminites are those who are the good people who are not a part of the central land, okay, the Southlanders. So, son of my right hand. What you don't know is that ancient Hebrew people, they would look towards the rising sun in the east. So to their right, or their right-hand side, would be south, okay? If they're looking at eastward, right? According to normal north, south, east, west, they look towards the rising sun. They would say the Hebrew prayer of the Shamash, and to their right would be the south. So Benjamin also means son of the south, okay? Son of the Southlanders, people who live outside of Hyperborea. Now, they all go to work outside, and you'll notice that they're wearing these jeans that have this red stripe that goes down the side. I thought that's interesting because I was in the Marine Corps, and we also had a red stripe. We called it the blood stripe that goes down the sides of these pants. Prisoners used to have a blood stripe on the sides of their pants. And they said in the Marine Corps, we were taught that it's to commemorate the death of all the people, you know, in the Marines that died, etc. But it literally means you're a killer. Okay, it's not to commemorate the death of others or whatever. It is implying you're a murderer, you're a killer. You have that blood running through on your clothing, basically. All right, so I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. Now, the warden comes into Andy's cell because he wants to check out who this guy is. He's making a name for himself, right? Remember, the warden represents the Antichrist. So we have this face-off between the blue beam, the Christ-like figure, and the Antichrist himself. Both of them represented by the color blue. Andy in his blue jean prison attire, and then the warden earlier I showed you was wearing blue as well, right? He takes Andy's Bible. He says, I'm pleased to see that you're reading this. You see, the devil, according to this movie, wants you to read the Bible too. But he just wants to interpret it for you. That's all. They don't care. You ever see that movie, The Book of Eli? Right? Eli knew how important the Bible was, but so did the enemy in that movie. He wanted this. He saw this as a weapon. So we have this face-off, and in the middle is the Bible. Both people trying to use the same instructions, the same history, the same words to their own benefit, or as their own tool, right? One to help people and the other to hinder. He says, do you have any favorite passages from this book, Andy? Dufresne, if you please. Mr. Dufresne, if you please. And Andy says, watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh. And it's sort of a play on words because the warden is the master of the house. He's doing a surprise inspection. But Andy is literally the master of the house as the blue beam, as the Jesus figure. And that light of the world will return to us one day. And we will enter into an age of earthly light where the earth will produce its own light once again. The warden's like, touche, okay, I hear you. But I'll raise you my own passage. I prefer, I am the light of the world. He that follows me will not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Now you see what's happening there? The devil is trying to claim his authority. The devil's trying to say he is the light of the world, when it's really the blue beam of energy that comes from the earth, that is born in a cave, that comes up out of the earth, born from those virgin waters at the center of the world. The devil says, I am the light of the world. I'm the sun, baby. I'm the focal point. People see me every single day. Where have you been? Right? What are you, sleeping in the underworld? That's kind of what's being implied here at an esoteric level. So he looks over at Andy's room, his cell. He sees this poster of this girl. He says, I can't say I approve of this. What is it he doesn't approve of on an esoteric level? Not just the warden is a Christian and he doesn't like, scantily clad women. This is the warden is the son of today, and he represents our modern times. He doesn't approve of who this represents, which is the mother. You see that name up there? He doesn't approve of the knowledge of the mother. And it's hard for me to zoom into it. There it is. It says mother right above her name. They put the poster purposefully right below the word mother. You see that? The great mother is the sky itself. Okay? The moon, which is the apex dome that casts its own image into our sky that we call the luminary, the moon. The real moon is the apex dome, a portion of the firmament that's protective, as a mother would be. Protective of its children. It's black and white. It's the moon. Okay? And the sun doesn't like the moon. Okay? They don't get along. That's why they don't like to come together. Okay? Anyways, he's about to leave and he gives him back his Bible. He says, I'd hate to deprive you of this. Gives him the Bible. He says, salvation lies within. While he's keeping him prisoner. You're in this world right now. The sun is going overhead, lashing you with its fiery whip every day as it gets hotter and hotter. He wants to use the Bible as a weapon. He gives it back to Andy, and Andy's going to make good use of that Bible, as you'll see. But we'll get back to that. Now, Andy goes to work for the warden. Okay, he gets in the warden's good graces. The warden wants to keep a close eye on his worst enemy. Andy looks over in the warden's office and he sees this quote, his judgment cometh, and that right soon. That's not really a biblical quote, but that's something people used to say in olden days. His judgment cometh, and soon. Andy's looking at this. The cameraman shows you this. Judgment is coming soon. It's not just movie foreshadowing. It is life foreshadowing. Judgment Day is coming soon to this world. That's what this movie is all about. Let me be blunt. That's what every movie, all of them, are all about. Showing you what is to come. Showing you what has already happened. Their disclosure. Hollywood is disclosing to you the truth. Now, all the inmates are out there on the bleachers talking, and Red says, I'm telling you, these walls are funny. Okay? They're talking about being institutionalized. People who live out there as sons of the South, where we now live. We've forgotten all about what it's like to live in paradise, what it's like to live forever, what it's like to not be sick, what it's like to be perfectly healthy, to be tall and strong and intellectual once again. We have become institutionalized. Red says, I'm telling you, these walls are funny. First, you hate them. Then, you get used to them. Enough time passes, You get so you depend upon them. You have all become institutionalized. You're dependent upon the very walls that keep you in place, the very loops that keep you stuck in position, stuck in one spot, so you can't truly live your life or do what you want to do, or be who you want to be, or go where you want to go. You've become dependent upon physical and invisible walls that are designed to keep you stuck right where you are so that other people can live. Now, Andy gets a note from Red, and he says, "A new girl for your new anniversary." So Andy keeps getting these posters of these beautiful women. He puts them onto his wall. This one he gets is Marilyn Monroe. So let's take a look at Andy's posters, shall we? First, we have Rita Hayworth, the mother, okay? Interesting. Remember, Andy represents that blue beam at the center of the world that's surrounded by that mountain range that goes all the way in a circle in that nation of Hyperborea at the middle of the world. Rita Hayworth is the first poster he puts onto his wall. Now, let's break this down. The name Rita means Margarita. It's short for Margarita, and it means pearl. Remember that, the pearl. Hayworth means and implies a hedge, hedged in, or a protected enclosure, like a gate or a fence. So her name literally means pearly gates, pearly enclosure, okay? Or a pearl enclosure, a pearl gate, an enclosed settlement, fenced in, pearly gates. Rita Hayworth. Remember that, okay? Next up, we have Marilyn Monroe, Eminem, Mount Meru. That one's pretty simple and self-explanatory. Then we have Raquel Welch. Raquel Welch, who also happens to be dressed like a cave woman, okay? Raquel Welch, if we look up her name, it comes from Rachel, which implies a lamb, specifically a female one, but a lamb nonetheless. And then Welsh means foreigner, a foreign lamb. Lamb also means light, a foreign light, a light that you're not used to seeing. All these posters are symbolic, and you'll see how this poster plays out when we get to the end. I don't want to spoil it for people who've never seen the movie, but there's a big surprise at the end. Now, Andy's helping them to build a library, and all the inmates are looking at these books. You might recognize this guy also from the movie The Mist. Right? This guy picks up the book and he goes, Treasure Island. And he reads the name of it by Robert Dumbass, he calls him, which is Dumas. Treasure Island. Well, Treasure Island literally is that land at the center of the world, at the North Pole. Why? Because it's full of treasures, not just life in abundance, okay? Because of cellular regeneration, because of that constant ambient electrical charge all over your skin and in your body. But there's physical treasure. There's precious gems and jewels. I mean, look at the petrified forest. That electric charge that came down from above danced across the land as a great kachina dances across the land, bringing rain. And when it hit those trees from the petrified forest, it turned them into precious stones and metals. A once living organism. Anyways, there's lots of that kind of stuff at the center of the world. The closer you get to the center of the world, the more commodities there will be, the more valuable stones and minerals and salts and gems and metals and stuff there will be closer to the center of the world. Treasure Island. Now, check this out. This is interesting. For those of you who watch my channel and watch this particular segment, you'll remember something from another movie. Now, we have the warden here, who is basically Satan and the devil of the modern age, right? He's using his slave labor to take control and to corner the market, basically, and make it so that small businesses can't really compete, okay? So this guy who owns a small business comes to him with this box that has pie in it, and he's trying to bribe him and say, please, I'll give you this pie if you just forget about using your slave labor in this particular area because I need this contract. And he's like, I don't know, we're providing a valuable resource here. He's like, come on, man, I have a family to feed. Look, I'll tell you what. You think about that and you enjoy this nice pie that my wife made. Now, along with the pie, there's a bunch of money. So he's bribing him. But it's the pie that is the important part here. If you remember our, what was that movie? Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Remember the whole teaching I did on the pie? The pie makes people forget about stuff. So he looks at the pie and he goes, I wouldn't worry too much about this contract. Seems I already got my boys committed somewhere else anyways. And he forgets because he was given the pie. Now, the pie, there's a pie in the sky called the moon. And some people think that the moon somehow, the appearance of the moon makes us forget, right? Some people call the moon a soul eater as well. That's another thing. But the pie makes him forget. Okay? He says, you be sure and thank Maisie for this fine pie. So pay attention in the movies when people are eating pie. They usually are trying to like forget about whatever's going on. They're trying to like forget about their problems or whatever, and they have a pie every time. What else? Next up, it says behind every shady dollar that was earned by the devil and by people who are demonically possessed during these times, behind all these evil actions, Andy was there, keeping the books. Now, Andy represents that energy that comes up from the center of the world. That energy, we live in a closed system, the earth, okay? It's a closed system right now. One day it will open up, but while it's closed, everything is being recorded energetically. Okay, every action, every word, this live stream, everything you've done today, every thought, it's all being put out there, and it doesn't go away. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So every action is energy, right? It's all just bouncing around in this world. Some people can tap into that energy or information, records of the past. Andy is a record keeper. That blue beam, that mountain at the middle of the world, is where you will find the Akashic records. It's where you will find the halls of Amenti, as it's written about in the Emerald Tablets. Okay, there's a record keeping, which is why in the Bible there's these books that are opened up, and everyone is judged according to their works. That's Andy judging them. He is the feather of Mahat in Egyptian mythology. Okay, he's that central scale that has the two sides that come out at the top, the pillar, the Irminzul, as we talked about, right? Weighing the heart against the feather. He's also the teacher. Now, the people that come from this land, where Andy's land, and I'm shifting back into real life, okay? Esoteric real life history. The people who come from the land of the light, or the land of the phoenix, or the bar of all bars, are called barbarians or Phoenicians, etc. And they bring civilization to the Southlanders, to the Benjaminites, you could say, okay? To those who live further south. And this is according to many traditions, but most notably is recorded in the Vedas of Hindu traditions and history. Okay, that these people came from the north down into India. Some of them stayed and mated with the tribal people who lived there, and they brought civilization. They brought agriculture. They brought higher learning. And this is what Andy does. He teaches people language. As I said, that very first written language, as far as an alphabet goes, was Phoenician. It's actually the language of the people from the Phoenix itself, which is picture form. Okay. And that's an alphabet. Okay. I'm not talking about just using pictures to try to any old pictures. I'm talking about an official worldwide recognized alphabet. There is one before that called Linear B, which comes from ancient Greece. But the ancient Greek people went through a cataclysm and they forgot their pictograms. And then hundreds and hundreds of years later, when they stopped using their pictograms for hundreds and hundreds of years for some mysterious reason. And when they came back to using an alphabet, they took the Phoenicians' alphabet. And that's where modern Greek alphabet comes from. And here's an example of that ancient Phoenician alphabet. You can see right here, it's the winged disc. This is the beam of energy that is shooting up to the apex dome itself and spreading its wings into the sky. And you can see some of the glyphs that are here. Okay, some of them they're pretty easy to figure out actually. Like this one right here looks like lightning or something. It looks like the letter M because it is the letter M. It's water, and then it's something coming up out of the water, and that's what the letter M means, to come up out of the water, which is why Moses' name begins with M. This one looks like a fence. That's because it is a fence. Oh, you can't see that one. Anyways, let's move on. All right, so Andy built a library. Andy collects these rocks and crystals, as you can see, because he's the creator of the rocks and the crystals. He's the original mason of the earth, okay? Being a mason doesn't mean you're evil. I can hear some people hearing, some people get triggered. They might see my Irminsul, whatever you want to call it. All right, my hammer of Thor, and they get triggered because it's not their symbol that they're used to. Some people will hear the word Mason or Freemason and they'll get triggered. They'll think, oh, it's evil. It's all evil. Illuminati, all evil. No, there's two sides to everything. Okay. This symbol is pagan because pagan means those from the peg of the earth. The peg, the tent peg at the center of the world that connects the land to the canopy above. All right? And there's truth to all these things. I could just as easily be wearing a Christian cross. Okay? Or many other symbols that all mean the same thing. I can see the truth in all of them, so I can easily wear all of them. Just as Paul in the Bible, he could easily go into the nation of the pagans and talk to them about God, and he becomes pagan to the pagans, and he's able to win the pagans to his teachings of repentance. And hey, you should just do good, man. Be a good person. You can do it. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm getting off the movie. Let's get back to the movie. All right, now this guy knows the truth about Andy. This new inmate, he comes into Shawshank and he says, hey, I knew a guy that killed your wife and her lover. So everyone finds out this guy has information. He's a witness that Andy doesn't belong in Shawshank. Well, that's a big problem to the warden because the warden's using Andy to make millions of dollars illegally in the movie. But the esoteric side of this is an insider. This is people like myself and some other people from place to place around the world, from time to time around the world, who have inside information about things the system doesn't want getting out. The system doesn't want information to get out about the true nature of who you are, the world you live in, reality, and what's beyond this world. What's underneath your feet inside of this world. How things actually work in this world. Why things are the way they are in this world. This guy's the insider. So the warden comes up to him and he's like, hey, he's pretending to be on his team. He's like, are you willing to tell this to a judge? And he's like, yeah, I sure am. I'll help my friend Andy out anytime. And because he's willing to be a whistleblower, the warden has him shot and kills him. Next scene, we have Andy, the blue beam, going up to his friend who represents the red people with blonde hair, symbolically, who are the people of God. Elias Boyd Redding, right? That's Red's name. And he tells him, he gives him instructions on how to find Andy, or how to find this treasure that Andy has left for him when he finally escapes Shawshank. This is you. You are him right here in this particular scene. You are being given instructions. You're being written out a map, a treasure map of how to get back to Hyperborea, how to get back to and return to the Garden of Eden, a physical paradise on earth. Okay? And listen to the instructions if this is you, okay? He says, there's a big hayfield up near Buxton, one in particular. It's got a long rock wall. You need to look for a long rock wall, okay? With a big oak tree, an oak tree at the north end. There's a big oak tree at the north end. This is the trunk of that tree. The beam of light that comes out of it becomes what appears to some as the burning bush or a tree of fire, a tree of light. This is also the oak that is in the Druids, right? So the ash tree in Norse mythology was that central pillar, that central tree. It's a different tree in different civilizations. So the oak tree was this central axis mundi, the central pillar to the Celtics and the Druids. It's this place right here. It's the tree of Odin. It's the place of this central earthly god or power. He said, it's something like out of a Robert Frost poem. Now that's interesting because Robert Frost, I was, made to read Robert Frost in high school, but I remember he had this one poem called Fire and Ice. And it's about the apocalypse. Let me read that to you. Robert Frost lived from 1874 to 1963, and he wrote, "Some will say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough to hate. I know enough of hate to know that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice." Interesting that they would bring up that particular poet who wrote this particular song about the two cycles we go through back and forth between water and fire in an apocalypse here on earth. He says, that's the place where I asked my wife to marry me. Now let's take you back to that harlot at the beginning. She's the whole reason Andy's here. Andy represents Jesus. He represents the blue beam. He represents that central mountain right there. So if he is Jesus, who is his wife? People always forget or tend to forget that Jesus is going to have a wife. Jesus will be married. To be married in ancient times meant to go through something, to become one with something by going into it. Okay? So who is his wife? He asked his wife to marry him at this oak tree, which is right here. This is the place where he asked his wife to marry him. Andy in the movie says it's where I asked my wife to marry me. Jesus is coming for his bride. Now, in your churches, you will be taught, especially within mainstream Protestantism, that you are the wife. And there's actually people out there just can't wait to get married to Jesus. Physically, actually, like have a ceremony and get married, like lots of people. Like Jesus is a polygamist. I don't know. That's basically what people are taught, okay? But that is not the case, okay? This is the wife. The wife is adorned with all of you, or more specifically, your righteous works. This is how the Bible describes it. In Revelation 21, verse 2, it says, "And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for Andy, for her husband, for the blue beam, for the light of the world." There is something that drops down from on high, from the highest part of this world. And it is adorned with the righteous people who live there. Now, many people believe that New Jerusalem will be a cube, because the dimensions are given in the book of Revelation. And so you could apply those same dimensions. It's the same dimensions on every side, just like a cube. But that's because we are square-minded in this particular, during these particular times. Okay? The frequency aligns more with a square shape than it does a circular shape or curving shapes. Okay? People believe this is what New Jerusalem will look like. And it's interesting that I've grabbed this picture that says, what is quantum levitation? Because we're talking about a city that floats down from the highest part of our sky and doesn't somehow crash into the earth and kill everybody that lives there. Interesting. I believe it has everything to do with quantum levitation. This is how New Jerusalem is typically portrayed, as given as people interpret the biblical dimensions of it. So they think it's this cube that's going to come down from the heavens, but there is no cube in the heavens because the heavens are female, okay? The heavens are the great mother above us. And that apex dome, the dome itself is curved. And there is an inward, you could say nipple or mound or mountain or however you want to say it, but it's the apex dome. And a dome has the same dimensions in every way as well. So it's not this. It's not a cube, but it is circular. This circular object comes down from the heavens. The Bible actually describes it similar to, what do they call that? A millstone. Okay. And this is the shape of a millstone. This is what a millstone looks like if you were to turn it flat and sideways. This is called quantum levitation. They take frozen ice. I'm going to simplify this, but you take ice and it floats over a powerful magnet, a superconductor, an electromagnet. Right? So you have something very powerful and magnetic on the bottom, and it causes ice that comes down from above, if you place it over that track, to levitate in place. You have to have very cold temperatures for this to happen. This has everything to do with the island at the center of the world. This has everything to do with the apex dome cracking off and floating down to us, coming down to us from the heavens. And it will lock itself in place. It's called quantum locking. What happens is all the powerful magnets underneath it send magnetic waves through the apex dome, which has particulates, debris inside of it. Because remember, our world will depressurize through the hole in the sky. Okay? But once we go through an energetic flip and we pass the neutral point of a polarity reversal, those gases that are high up in the atmosphere, in the middle of all the debris and dirt and metals and things like that going through it, will freeze instantaneously back into the dome shape. And the dome will reconstitute itself. And when it freezes, it locks in those little particulates. All those particulates will be influenced by a strong magnetic force. So when that dome of ice that also has, tiny particulates like metals and minerals and stuff like that, when it comes back down and it lands over the land, it will be similar to quantum locking, where you can take a solid frozen object and the magnetic field will go through it and hold on to those particulates and keep it suspended in the air, trapping it at the quantum level, quantum trapping. This disk, this circular object, as New Jerusalem, coming down from the heavens and staying just above the world. Okay? Right above the physical land. This is Asgard. This is the land of the angels or the gods or whatever, however you want to see it. But it's a land that comes down from above and it becomes pinned through the fluctuations in the electromagnetic field or the magnetic field. Right? It's just held in place. Now, Andy, the blue beam, talking to you once more, says, if you ever get out, find that spot. X marks the spot on your treasure map. That's the spot. You see the spot? That's the spot where you need to get to. There's a larger one being the entire spot of the whole island, and there's a smaller one of the lake at the center of it. It's your bullseye. It's your target. It's your place to go. And it is the pole at the center of the world, the navel of the world, the birthplace, the place of emergence and the place of return. At the base of that wall, you'll find a rock. Black rock. Rupus nigra. At the base of that wall, you'll find a rock that has no earthly business in a main hayfield. A piece of black volcanic gas. Because it's a plasma volcano at the center of the world. Who is that, Amanda's? Hey, thanks, Amanda's. I appreciate you in the chat. Volcanic rock at the center of the world with the blue beam that erupts up high into the sky at the shores of a crystal clear lake that has no impurities. This is terrestrial paradise. This is the light of the world. This is the mother, the virgin mother that gives birth to that light. This is the wolf, or the mouth of the wolf that howls up at the apex dome, the moon, the real moon. These are the people of the Phoenix or the Phoenicians. These are the people who live at the bar of all bars, the column of all columns, the pillar of all pillars, the barbarians. These are the people at the center of the world, the people who live at the tree of trees. In ancient language, tar, of tars, the Tartars, the Tetors, the Tartarians. The people at the center of the world, and they know this information. They have passed this down generation after generation, keeping the secret away from you because they want to return to Hyperborea, and there's only so much room. There will be a rat race when all the humans scurry as the ship starts to sink to the one safe place in the world. And guess what the elite are doing right now? Scooching in on it, trying to get closer and closer and claim those northern lands. But one of these days, the lights will go out, just as Andy sits there as the lights go dark. The end will be in darkness, as the beginning will also be in darkness. There will be no light. At the end of our age, it will be so bright, there will be too much light. And then all that light will be stripped away. And the only lights to exist will be the dark lights, the plasmas, the lightnings. And you can hear the thunderclap as a storm approaches, as Andy gets ready to make his appearance into the new world, the light of the world. Okay? Leaving the prison of the underworld, you could say, of Tartarus, right, where the angels, according to the Bible, are held in a prison in the underworld. And he's going to emerge up into this world, the surface world. The thunder claps. A lot of these movies start with the storm. They will start with a storm, and that's what will kick things off quite often. And that storm is represented by this blue light that shines on people's faces in the movies. Red says that was the longest night of my life. And it will be the longest night of your life, too, when the apocalypse comes around again. You won't have any sense of time. The luminaries will be taken away. Now, back into the movie, all the guards are calling for the inmates to come stand on line, and he says, we got a man missing on tier, cell 245. 245 is 11, if you add up the numbers. Pillars of Hercules. There's a man missing. They say, you're holding up the show. Come on, Andy, get out of here. Red can't believe it. He's shocked. He didn't know the day that Andy would leave. He had no idea. His own best friend, somebody who's intimate with him as a friend, okay, had no idea Andy was going to disappear. Just as you have no idea when Andy, the man of light, the burning man, the burning bush, Jesus Christ, the light of the world, Mount Meru, you have no idea when it's going to return. You can tell when it's getting close, though, just like Andy's friends saw the signs. They knew Andy was acting a little weird. They knew something was coming, but they didn't know what it was or when it was going to happen. Now, Andy has disappeared from Shawshank. He's escaped from the prison world, and he's about to make his appearance into paradise. The warden comes in and sees that his cell's empty, and the name George is right behind him. You see that? The warden's holding onto a rock, one of Andy's chess pieces. And he says, this is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. That's what this is. One big damn conspiracy, and everyone's in on it. And he throws the rocks. It is a conspiracy. Everything I've just shared with you is the source of all conspiracies. Every single one of them. If you enjoy JFK, if you enjoy the moon conspiracy, if you enjoy 9/11, if you enjoy any of these conspiracies, mud floods, the old world, the dark ages, anything, it's all connected. And it all goes back to the beginning. And then the butterfly effect changes them over time as we tell stories And when we develop legends and myths about everything that started and had its beginning with the apocalypse. Okay? The apocalypse is the root of every conspiracy. It is the secret of the Freemasons and the Illuminati. The place at the center of the world, the safe place to live and to be, paradise on earth, the fountain of youth, is kept from you. And it's all related. Everyone's in on it, including her. And he throws this rock at the poster of Raquel Welch. And then they all look at it. Everyone's in on this conspiracy, including her, the actress, Hollywood, showing you the truth. This becomes very meta, okay? The people who made this movie are in on the conspiracy themselves. Hollywood, he's pointing right at the actress, is in on the conspiracy. The Illuminati in Hollywood. The Hollywood elite. There's the famous Jim Carrey all-mocking tongue. Okay? People sign contracts making a deal with the devil or bloodlines who have access to these secrets. They will call you in to prove that they'll tell you all the stuff I just told you. And to a normal person, it's going to sound so ridiculous. There's no way you would believe it until you call Michael Jackson in or Justin Bieber and you say, hey, I want you to meet Justin Bieber. I want you to meet Michael Jackson. And he goes, yes, that's actually true. So we all did it. We all signed the deal with the devil. That's my Michael Jackson voice, by the way. Okay. But they signed the deal with the devil and they say, you're going to share the truth of everything with the world in a way that they won't believe it. You're going to be our form of disclosure. Media is how we will get away with saying, we told them. We told them all the time, every day, and they didn't listen to us. They thought it was just music. They thought it was just a story. And they hide the symbolism of the apex dome. They hide the symbolism of the mountain at the center of the world that produces light. They hide the symbolism of these new orders and these new eras and these ages and epochs that happen cyclically. Some of them that work for them might not even know it. They themselves might be caught up and lost in the sauce. But other people are not. Andy went through Rita Hayworth, or that's not Rita Hayworth, it was Raquel Welch, but he went through those posters. Remember, Rita Hayworth meant pearly gates. He entered through the pearly gates to get to paradise. Interesting, right? He went through M&M, the place where Marilyn Monroe was, the posters, right? He went through Raquel Welch. He went through that. This hole right here. Pay attention because the movies are going to show you this exact same hole. Typically, it's got a wall. Sometimes it's straight. Sometimes it's down into the earth. It can be at different angles. But it all represents the hole at the center of the world inside of Mount Meru. Usually, the walls will be ribbed. Okay? The reason the walls will be ribbed and have ruffles or whatever, ruffles have ridges, I don't know, the chips, you know what I mean? It's very similar. They have ribs to them. It's because the energy goes through the earth and it flows just like that, just like a river. The plasma that goes up through this hole will carve out and solidify and petrify the inner wall, and it will create this ribbed whole wall. And this is where the light of the world escapes when it comes up here to our world, or when it retracts and goes back down into Hades, Sheol, the underworld, hell, however you want to say it. And you will see the same ring. Almost, you're looking up right now. The movie doesn't want you to know this, but you're looking up from the hollow earth, from inside. Just like in the movie Coraline, when she goes through that same type of a hole between worlds. Just like Alice in Wonderland, right? That's the Cheshire Cat's smile is the moon or the apex dome, okay? Just like Alice in Wonderland, when she goes down the rabbit hole, the ridges and the of that particular hole or whatever. Just like the movie The Ring, when you look up from the bottom of the well and you see them putting the covering on the top of Mount Meru, that covering is the apex dome. That covering is the conjunction that you will see, just like you saw in the movie The Dark Crystal, okay? And people look upwards from it. They don't know why they're drawn to this particular shape. That's the bagel in Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's the center of the world. Everything goes up to that point, and you're looking through this tunnel. You're looking up out of Mount Meru, and they're playing with perspective here. In Outer Range, they show you that there's this hole in the earth, and it's a bottomless pit. And if you go down into it, things that are dead come back to life. You go down into it far enough, and you enter back into you time travel. You go into the past. It's like a prehistoric land down underneath the earth. James and the Giant Peach, he went through this ribbed hole and saw that the bugs suddenly are all gigantic in size. The fruits and vegetables are all gigantic in size. It's gigantism. One world is gigantic while the other one will be small. And then they will switch. Being John Malkovich also had a similar tunnel. The people went through this tunnel and they ended up inside of like John Malkovich's mind. And that gets us into the fractal verse and stuff like that. But they have a similar tunnel in that movie. Poltergeist has a similar ribbed tunnel that goes down into hell, or the necropolis, the place of the dead. This one's Alien versus Predator, I believe. And they go down and they see the big pyramid at the bottom. I think they're actually in either the Arctic or Antarctic. I can't remember because I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but you could see the ribbed tunnel symbolism, the light at the top of it. Red Hot Chili Peppers, same thing. The other side, right? Now, all their music is all about the things that I just taught you, okay? But anyways, they have that same ribbed tunnel symbolism. There's actually a real life tunnel called Mel's Hole. Somebody had called into, what was that name of that radio show about like conspiracies and stuff? I think it's still on the air. I can't remember the name of it because it's been a long presentation and I have a brain fart. What was that name? Anyways, you guys will tell me in the chat. But somebody called into this popular radio show and they said that in Washington, there's this bottomless pit. There's a hole that this guy discovered. And they named it after him, Mel's Hole, located in Washington. Coast to Coast. Hey, thank you. Coast to Coast AM. Who is that? McCulloch is correct. Coast to Coast AM. So somebody had called in and discussed this hole that this guy lowered fishing line into the hole for like, what was it, 19 miles worth of fishing line or something? Never reached the bottom of it. It says here, deep within the rugged, undulating hills near Ellensburg in the state of Washington lies the disturbing legend of Mel's Hole. First brought to public attention on Coast to Coast, I guess I could have read that, in 1997 by a caller known as Mel Waters. This perfectly circular pit appears to be a bottomless void. Eyewitness accounts, I'll just summarize, but people talk about beams that came up out of this. People say that a dead dog was put into this hole and the dog came back to life. It doesn't have to be at the center of the world. There's going to be many types of Mount Meru, many openings in the earth all around the world. And as the gases are released during these end times, and they will be in mass, you're going to have huge openings in the earth that will fall all the way down into the earth itself. But this is from the TV show La Brea. Okay, these people fall into this sinkhole and they go back in time. It's a hole to another world. Okay, and that's the hole that Andy goes through. And it all is because of his hammer. He used that little rock hammer to chisel away year after year after year. Right? The same hammer. It's the crucifix. Okay, it's the beam of energy. It's the light of the world. It's the Irminsul. It's the Axis Mundi. This is the symbol for Andy himself. This is the symbol for some of you. Okay? And Andy, just like Jesus, when Jesus died, he went down into the underworld, according to the New Testament, and he was, helping out people who lived down in the underworld. So, I mean, the Bible says there's an underworld and people live down there. All right. Now, Red says, geology is the study of pressure and time. So what does it take for the apocalypse to come? That's all it takes, really. Pressure, atmospheric pressure, and time. All it takes for the apocalypse to pop off, for the dome to explode above us, for the firmament to rip open, and our atmosphere to depressurize, and objects and people and animals and dirt and debris and water to float up to the heavens to be eaten by the sky god Kronos, figuratively, symbolically, according to the legends, is pressure and time. All it takes for those inner earth gases to be released and to squirt and rise up through the cracks and the crevices of our world and ionize and become plasmas is pressure and time, a pressure release. That's what the apocalypse is all about. It is pressure being released. In the music industry, Queen wrote a whole song about it called Under Pressure, and how the elite know that the pressure is building in this world and it's contributing to early deaths and time speeding up and all this stuff. And they want out, just like Andy. They want out of this place. Okay, they want to go to a place where they can live longer. You pay attention, you'll start seeing it. Andy packs away his chessboard, which is interesting. Andy represents the light of the world. Some of you have seen my presentations on the land of Jesus, right? What was that girl? There's a girl who has another YouTube channel, Leaving Babylon. Madeline from Leaving Babylon. High five, Madeline. She has a great presentation on how to get to the North Pole land, or the land of Jesus, that circular land that I just shared with you, which maybe used to be bigger in ancient times. But look at the chess pieces. You see this? The name of the box on these chess pieces? Look at it. Check it out. You think they just chose any old box at random? It says bearing on it. Bearing Imperials. Interesting. It says in the Bible that the Euphrates would dry up and to make way for the kings of the East, right? Imperials is another way of saying king. Bering is code for the Bering Sea, or the Bering Strait, the straight and narrow path that leads to paradise, right? Depending on where you are in the world, I guess. Anyways, Andy goes through his own little Mount Meru, which has the blue light, just as Aladdin would, just as anybody goes into these tunnels, into the cave of treasures or wonders or whatever, right? Andy himself, as the blue light, the human is blocking the real Andy, the what you should be seeing, which is blue plasma, the blue light, okay? But it's really lightning that's cracking off in the background, okay? Anyways, the plasma tunnel. He looks through the sewage line, which represents the underworld. And they make a big deal about him crawling through. It says he crawled to freedom through 500 yards of shit-smelling foulness I can't even imagine. I can imagine, and I can tell you exactly what it is. It is not poop, okay? That nasty smell is from within the earth itself. And it's, I just forgot the name of that gas. Or what is it? It's brimstone or whatever. There's other names for it too, but there's natural gases inside of the earth that smell like rotten eggs. Okay. If you've ever been to like a natural spring or whatever, like I'm losing my vocabulary right now. If you've ever been to, what do they call that? When there's like a natural spring and it's like hot water and people go there. Anyways, if you've ever been to one of those places, you probably remember the smell of sulfur. There it is. Sulfur smell. It's rotten eggs. It's brimstone. Okay. And it's not poop. All right. That's just using this symbolically. But those who know understand why when you go down into the earth, you're going to experience a bad smell. I also cover this as to why those walls are oftentimes yellow. Remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers picture I just showed you? The walls are yellow in that picture, this one right here, because it's sulfur. Okay, these are the back rooms. The liminal space between the surface world and the underworld. Okay, and that's why they're yellow, because they're made out of sulfur. And that's why it smells bad, like poop or whatever, because it's sulfur, all right? Anyways, they show you Shawshank, the outside of it. Shawshank is experiencing its own little storm. This is the plasma apocalypse symbolism. Lightning is plasma. Okay, lightning is a weak version of what is to come. Lightning is quick, but the plasmas that will come when the electrical field in our atmosphere is amplified are going to be long-lasting, undulating, moving like fiery dragons and serpents in the sky. So Andy comes out of the other side. He has to cross over this river. Remember, the word Hebrew means to cross over a dead land into a land of life. That's what it implies, but it just means to cross over, okay? So he crosses over from one side to the other. This would be the river of judgment, or the Jordan River, symbolically speaking, because that's what Jordan means, the river of judgment. And he does that pose that I told you about, where you lift your hands up into the air, right? I can't go straight up right now because I hurt my rotator cuff, but straight up works, arms out to the side. This is the Atlas pose. Atlas is the one who holds up that other world above us, which is the apex dome. It's just that blue beam of energy shooting up and creating this shape. That shape is the Vav, which is the 6th letter of that alphabet. And there are 3 of those: anode, cathode in the middle, on the side, and Mount Meru, another one. Those are 666. That 666 has been inverted by the devil, by the warden of this world, to make you think that that's evil. But it is not. It's the number of the man of light, the man of fire at the center of the world. It's a location, if you understand what it represents. Anyways, he's free, okay? Andy's free. I love this part. I love any movie where people get what they deserve and, the good guy wins. Boondock Saints, like people doing the right thing. I don't know why Boondock Saints came to mind. But anyways, Andy does his Squatterman pose, and you can see the light has a blue tint to it all over the place. He's standing in the middle of the storm. He's also the storm bringer. Okay? It just as Enki is. Enki means god of this earth, or god of the earth. There's different Mesopotamian gods, Middle Eastern gods and stuff. Enki was known as the lord of the earth, the lord of the storms, the lord of magic, the lord of energy and weather and stuff like that. This is him. This is Enki as well. Now, we see the next day, the newspaper comes out, and Andy was the whistleblower, and they find out that there's been corruption and murder at Shawshank. So the warden hears the sirens. Retribution is coming. The reckoning is coming. What was wrong and evil, and all the people in this world who were corrupt and basked in their corruptness will get what's coming to them. Okay? Not just by the apocalypse itself, but there are other worldly beings that are going to come up from below, as I've talked about, Gog and Magog, that are going to judge the world. All right? There are giants that live in the inner earth right now. They live for a very long time. They're very intellectual. They're very smart. They have their own version of technology. They utilize plasmas and probably plasma weapons, I'm assuming. And then there's other entities that are going to come into this world too. There's going to be literally Armageddon. World war, everybody at war. And people like this are going to look just like this when that day comes. They're going to look terrified. They're going to be like, oh crap, I've been found out. The master of the house has returned and judgment has come to me. There will be nowhere for them to hide. They will get what's coming to them, I promise you. Every rapist, every murderer, every evil person, all the thieves and everything, you have an energetic signature in you that other people can see, especially those who are from inside of the earth. Creatures, animals, insects, humans, their energy down there is so much stronger than ours. They can see your energy because they're that empathetic. Okay, their spirits are that strong. They can sense you. They can see your energy with a different sight. So can I. Some of us up here can too, okay? But they can do it so much easier. They actually used to have animals in ancient Japan that they would bring in to put in front of potential new emperors to like sort of sniff them out, but they weren't sniffing them out. These were not normal animals. These were like chimera, okay? And there was these weird dogs. Anyways, they could sense people's energy, and if they had bad energy, they would kill them. Or they would like headbutt them off of a cliff or different things. Anyways, I'm off topic. All the good guys are going to show up. Okay, I'm not saying cops are good guys, but I'm saying like there will be a reckoning. There will be people who come afterwards to take the fake cops, to take the fake authorities, the evil ones, out of this world. So he goes back to the Bible. But his Bible, when he opens it, has a note from Andy. And it says, "Dear Warden, you were right. Salvation lay within." Salvation lay within. So this is deep on many levels, okay? One, salvation lies within, okay? Salvation doesn't come from wearing a cross or Mjolnir or any of this stuff. Salvation doesn't come from saying a prayer or telling people that you're a Christian or that you're a Muslim or that you're a Hindu or brag rights. Salvation doesn't come from any of that. It comes from within, changing your spirit. Your spirit will help you to be saved. Saved from what, though? From the apocalypse is where I'm coming from. There's different levels to everything, but I'm going to talk to you about the apocalypse, and I will keep talking to you about the apocalypse until the day that the apocalypse comes. Or I can't anymore. Inside of it, in the book of Exodus, which means to make your exit, the great departure, leaving, is where Andy kept his little rock hammer that helped him to escape. This is symbolic because the book of Exodus details another apocalyptic event. How do you think the Red Sea had the waters just floating up into the sky? Atmospheric depressurization. And all the people stuck their feet way down into the mud to keep from getting sucked up into the sky itself as the waters were rising and floating straight up all the way around them. The book of Exodus talks about the cataclysm that I'm talking to you about. Uh-oh. The warden knows his time is over. The devil knows people are coming for him. Okay? He knows that the lake of fire and a death is on the way for him. So he gets out his gun and he decides it's not worth it. And he takes himself out, breaks the window. That's also symbolic of the firmament breaking open. Drops his gun on the floor. And then Red, the narrator, says, "I like to think the last thing that went through his head, other than that bullet, was to wonder how the hell Andy Dufresne got the best of him." You see, that's the good news, okay? The light wins. The good energy will triumph. It's cyclical. If you live during the bad times, the crappy times, you have something to look forward to. If you live during the good times in the golden age, there's that looming thought that the world's going to become corrupt again and crappy again. So we actually have the benefit of knowing that we have something beautiful that is on the way. The apocalypse has to come first, but after that, the world will be remade and you will be set free. Andy Dufresne, who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side, he returns to the coast. Okay, this is symbolically showing you paradise. All right, this land over here is paradise, and then this would be the central waters or whatever. Now, Red gets rejected, or he thinks he's going to get rejected for parole again, but they actually let him free. So he's been approved by the law, the 5 people, the Torah, right, to go. He's been approved to go. Now he's out there walking around. He feels he's been told by society he needs to get back into these loops of life. So he gets a job. He doesn't know what to do, right? Everyone just tells him what to do. You need to wear a tie. You need to have a collar and tie a rope around your neck. What sense does that even make? He goes past the pawn shop and it reminds him of Andy. That's interesting because this is where the merchants come from. Those people that come from, they're forced out of Hyperborea. They become the merchants of the world. That's how they make their money. That's how they gain their power, is through trade. And they become the traders or traitors, okay? But the pawn shop, also represented by 3 balls, which you see reflected in the firmament above us. He looks through the window of the pawn shop and he says he thinks about ways that he can get back to Shawshank, because he's institutionalized. He looks at all these guns, but as he looks through over the guns, he sees that they are also selling compasses. And he buys a compass instead of a gun, okay? The compass is going to point you towards paradise. It's going to show you how to get back to Andy, the light of the world. So Red gets his compass, and he remembers Andy's instructions on how to find paradise once again. He goes to this Buxton town where you can see the fields and it's beautiful and everything, right? This valley. He finds the wall. He follows the rock wall that leads to the oak tree, okay? Which is what we could do too. We have to find that rock wall, leads us to the oak tree at the center of the world. The burning bush. When he gets there, he was told to look for a stone unlike any other stone, a stone that has no earthly business there, a volcanic stone. So he opens up, he moves all these rocks out of the way, and lo and behold, he finds the black rock, this obsidian piece. The black rock, and underneath it, he finds a treasure. Because within Mount Meru, you will also find your treasure, though it be not the treasure you seek. As they say in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You will find a treasure, though it be not the treasure you seek. I love that. We got to do that movie too. Anyways, they're basically the same premise. All right. Anyways, I'm like distracting myself. So the black rock, he finds the black rock. It's Mount Meru. It's in the center of the world. Inside of it, he finds this box. On top of the box, you might think that's the Titanic, but it is not. It is the Queen Mary. See that? Queen Mary. Mary, the Virgin Mary, under the black rock. The black rock is the Virgin Mary. The beam is Andy or Jesus, okay? The black rock is the virgin, or lives in the virgin waters of this crystal clear lake, this crystal lake, right? Camp Crystal Lake, right? And this is all showing you this, which is real, okay? All of this is real. This is not just a myth. This is not just a story. It's not just a movie. For those of you who are willing to accept it, who these deeper truths will be tugging on your heartstrings. I already know. It's compelling. I already know. And I'm not trying to say it's me. It's not me. I'm just sharing the truth with you as I see it through my perception filters on my path from where I am now. I freely give it to you. I freely share it with you. If you vibe with it, it's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. I respect your right to be ignorant of the things that I am aware of. Okay? That's fine. And just as I'm ignorant of things that you know about, that's understandable. You can walk your path however you like to walk your path. He finds a treasure underneath that rock, as you will also find a treasure. Now, he's not in it for the money, though. All those people who are in it for the money, you want to get to Mount Meru for diamonds and gold and jewels and stuff, all that stuff is worthless. They line their buildings with those materials. Those are average materials in the Garden of Eden, okay? You're not going to know what to do with all of it when you can't leave the Garden of Eden, because once you go in, you can't come out until the apocalypse comes. Might be exceptions to that rule, but as a rule of thumb, once you go in, you can't come out. You can't go back out the same way you came in. Anyways, oh, my phone just died. Dang, been talking forever. All right, so Red is like, I'm going to go find Andy. He decides he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to hang himself like the old man did earlier in the movie. He says, get busy living or get busy dying. The movie's talking to you and I'm talking to you. You get busy living or you get busy dying. Either way, none of this mediocre, none of this living in loops, none of this lukewarm, wishy-washy, just doing what everyone else is doing. You get busy living. I'm talking to the living, okay? I'm talking to living spirits, living souls, people who are alive, not people who are lukewarm and slowing down, dying. I'm talking to you out there. I'm talking to myself as well. So he gets to the beach. He gets to paradise. He finds Andy, his friend, who's over there working on a boat because he's a pirate. My second book, I talk all about how the people who live on this island are pirates, okay? That's the original people are pirates. Maybe not like cartoon cheesy pirates with hooks and peg legs and stuff, how you see it portrayed today, but they're all pirates, okay? And that's not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's also why the spaghetti god followers are all pirates and stuff. Anyways, he finds Andy. Andy's working on his boat that seems to be made completely out of wood. It would have to be, because he's on a magnetic island. But anyways, they unite. The people, okay, which is what red represents, the red people, find their way back home. And you will find your way back home too. If you're wise and you're patient and you wait for the right time and you remember and you follow your intuition, your instincts, that inner spirit that talks to you, you too will find paradise once again. And that is the movie, The Shawshank Redemption. I hope that you guys had a good one and enjoyed it. Check out my website, JayDreamerZ.com. Check out my Patreon if you want to support me and watch some cool behind the scenes extra content shows that I've got, Chasing the Apocalypse and stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.